What's up, squad? It's your squid. The Australian government released the census data from the most recent Australian census this year. I've thrown it together with some American data, just a couple of pieces that I find interesting. Full disclosure, if you're not into numbers, this probably isn't the video for you. Poke around the channel though, like hit a different video of mine to watch, because I like that ad revenue and all that. But yeah, I wrote a quick cheat sheet of some census data from both countries. I'm going to compare them and let's have a chat about it in the comments section, shall we? Because I think it's fairly significant. The two countries are pretty similar, but they're very, very different based on this data. So, or data, depending on which side you fall on, right? But let's get into it. Thanks for clicking on the title or the thumbnail or whatever it was that led you here, guys. The views I get from my subscribers and from the people who aren't subscribed go a long way to helping me keep this channel and have it as my main source of income. So if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you hadn't hit the like button, hit the like button. You guys are doing me a massive favor when you do those things. The first thing I wanted to talk about when comparing the two sets of data is Roe versus Wade, which I know sounds weird, but I had a big conversation in regards to a short that I uploaded last week because so many people were hitting me up in the comments about the Founding Fathers, and it was a big debate. It was probably the most commented on video on my channel. And I when the census data got released, I sort of went looking for a reason why. Because when it comes to Roe versus Wade, because it's just like fundamentally not something that would happen in Australia. A woman's right to being in charge of her own body is fundamental to Australian thought and life. You know what I mean? Like it's human rights, and it seems whack to me that the fetus gets more rights than the host. For lack of a better term, for like I know I understand that's a bit dehumanizing to women to call her a host, not a woman, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like I can't find the logic, but that's not what this video is about. From census data, right, and this is 2020 in America, 2021 in Australia, less than 50% of Australians are Christian, right, which is the first time that's ever happened, and it's because millennials have overtaken baby boomers in the population race for the first time. This is the first census that has reflected that as well. But yeah, less than 50% of Australia are Christian. The dominant religion is no religion. And for America, that's just not the case. Like a smidge over 65% of Americans identify as Christian in some capacity. You know what I mean? My baby's just about to cry, so I'm just going to pause this here. I'll be back in a sec. I didn't hit the pause button. Oop. And I'm back. It was Apollo. He's fine, don't worry. But yeah, a smidge over 65% of Americans identify as Christian, and less than 50% of Australians identify as Christian. So I think that is a significant thing that we both, like you and I, both need to acknowledge and move past. There are going to be things in America that are God Squad related and are Bible thumping and stuff, and that's because over 65% of the country wants it to be. Right? And I don't have to agree with that. It's like, that's raw data. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if I'm in that 65% or not. I find it really, really interesting though. Like the wording of the question is different, because in America here, like they have atheist as a religion you can choose. And I think that's really odd, you know? Like atheism isn't a religion. And a lot of people here in America seem to think it is. Like that's the belief system of anti-God or something. And it's like, nah, fam. It's just like there are 2,800 and something deities in the history of humanity that we've invented to explain stuff. And you don't believe in 2,799 of them. I don't believe in just one more, you know what I mean? Like the same way you feel about Zeus or Vishnu as a Christian, I feel about Jesus. It's just that's how I feel, and I can't help that. And it's a perk of where I grew up, because less than half of the country is Christian, and more than half of this country is Christian. I think I just worded that wrong. No, I worded it right. I don't know. You know what I'm saying. We're going to move on to other data, but I just thought it was it was glaring. You know what I mean? Like over 65% versus under 50%. It's a big difference, you know what I mean? The average age of both countries is fairly similar. 38.1 years old for Australia, 38.2 years old for America. So that's, fairly similar. The average income, though, is like drastically different. The average income for an Australian is $42,000 a year. Now, I know a lot of Australians would be like, fuck it hell, I wish I had that, because, like, evidently I grew up in below average Australian areas, you know what I mean? But the average income for an American is $65,000, right? Which is just, like, that's absurd, you know? Like, because that's, I mean, again, I live in the hood, so I don't think I know 4 people that you could add up their incomes and that'd be that much. That's a lie. My wife earns pretty good coin at the minute, actually, now I think about it. But yeah, like the average incomes between the two countries is huge. 65k versus 42k. And I want to mention, in Australia, the average income in Canberra is on average 30% higher than the average income anywhere else in the country. Canberra is a very, very small city compared to everywhere else, and it hosts Parliament House, and all the politicians live there. So I mean, that story sort of tells itself, doesn't it? Higher, 25%. No, it was 31%. It was 25 to 31. I don't know, depending on where you are. Average income higher than the rest of the country. These guys are scum, right? Like, we need to figure that out. But yeah, 42,000 versus 65,000, Australia versus America. Keeping that in mind, like, that's after tax, right? And Americans do pay a significant amount of tax. I probably should have researched what percentage of tax comparable. In fact, I might. Just, I won't. I was about to say, I'll look on my device, but I don't want to move the camera. It's a whole thing, though, you know? Like, it's 42k versus 65, but you get universal healthcare out of your 42k that you don't have to spend money on insurance, you know? And so there's, like, and I can't think of any of the other benefits in Australia at the moment, but I know there are many. Compulsory superannuation, you know, like all sorts of stuff. Contributions to childcare funds, you know, like there's compulsory childcare, paid for, like childcare benefit schemes, like all sorts of stuff, all sorts of benefits that you get as an Australian citizen that you don't get as an American citizen. So while on face value, 65k versus 42k may seem drastic, I think if I were to research it a little bit better, if I were to look into it, and if I thought to look into it, the benefits we get for the taxes we pay, on a net basis, we're probably about even. You know what I mean? But that's just my thought. That's just my waxing philosophical. I might look it up and put a thing there, like, or I might not. Who knows? You'll know. Anyway, hit the like button. Moving on from average income. This one I thought was super, super interesting. 27.6% of all Australians that completed the census were either born overseas or their parents were. So that's over a quarter of the country are immigrants or the children of immigrants. That same number in America is 13.5%, right? So a significant drop. And I find it really interesting because Australians don't often go around beating their chest about what a melting pot it is there, and what a story of immigrants and it's just not like the bravado about it is not as big as it is here in America. And so I find that super interesting in that there's a very American sense of, oh, we're a melting pot, we're where everyone else comes to try and thrive, sort of thing. And it's 13.5% compared to 27.6, you know? So that's more of a thing that I found interesting because of my thought patterns, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not criticizing anyone or anything with that. I'm just piqued my interest, you know what I mean? 27.6% versus 13.5% who were either born overseas or parents who were. Top 3 for that in America, like the top 3 countries that people are from that are not from America are Mexico, the Dominican Republic, and Ireland. Ireland, you know, people that are Irish. In Australia, that's India, England, and China. China, not surprising to my Australian people. India, not surprising to my Australian people. Watching this, and English, maybe surprising. I don't know. I didn't really think they were still big exporters of immigrants to Australia, but I guess I'm wrong in that sense. But yeah, India and China, you can go to the ABS website and you can look at they've been booming since the 90s. Both cultures in Australia as immigrants have been booming since the 90s, so that's not surprising in any capacity. But yeah, the top 5 religions. I'm coming back to religion because I just found it like so stark and so interesting that less than 50% of Australians, less than 50% of all Australians are Christian. And over 65% of Americans identify as Christian. The top 5 religions in Australia were no religion, which is you opt out of the question, like you select like no religion, which is, I'm not picking an answer here because I don't have one. Sort of like not applicable, but it's not applicable because you don't have a religion, and that is an answer, right? 38.9% no religion, 20.1% Catholic, 9.8% Anglican, 3.2% Islam. That's like the top 4 in Australia, right? And I thought that was really interesting, and some of you might be going, 38.9% no religion. I thought you said most people weren't Christian. And yeah, that was some creative wording on my part at the start of the video. 38.9% is the majority, right? Obviously, is the highest number. It's not the majority. But if you also add the Islam, Hindu, fucking, I can't think of any, Jewish people, if you add all the non-Christian religions to non-religion, it beats Christianity in a whole sense. And if you add all the denominations of Christianity up, it still loses to no religion, but you know what I mean, like it's a thing. I was creative with my wording. But anyway, 38.9% no religion, 20.1% Catholic, 9.8% Anglican, 3.2% Islam. I found it really interesting. In America, I'm just going to tell you the top 3 here because the top 2 are so fucking significant. 42% of Americans are Protestant. Protestant doesn't even feature on the Australian list. It's less than 1%, right? And 42% of Americans identify as that. So I thought that was super interesting. 20.1% in both countries for Catholic as well, which that was quirky, coincidental. I don't know, but it's 20.1% of the population, both in America and in Australia, are Catholic, and neither is the top religion in either place. Like, they're not the top religion in either place, but they're second in both places. So it's like, that's an interesting one as well. The Kennedys were Catholic, weren't they, here in America? Like, that's a thing. Like, the Irish Catholics is a thing. 3.2% of America are Mormons. I thought that number would be way higher. I'm really good friends. I've had a long-term online friendship with somebody who grew up in the Church of the Latter-day Saints, and thankfully she has since escaped, and she's a really powerful person. Like, she's really super cool. I'll put her social media there. Go and give her a follow on Instagram if you want. Hopefully she doesn't get overwhelmed by that. Hopefully, we'll see how we go. But anyway, I thought that number would be higher because she's been very anti-Mormon on all her social media and stuff, and so I have, that's been my means of interpreting things about the Mormon faith, if that makes sense. And the play that so the South Park dudes wrote, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, that Book of Mormon or whatever. Good play. Anyway, 3.2%, no, sorry, just 2%. Just 2, not 3 point. They were third on my list, so I had it as 3. But yeah, 2% of the country are Mormon, which I think is odd. I thought it was higher. They certainly make it seem like it's higher. But 6% of Americans identify as atheist. I wanted to mention here in the question, right? In America, they have atheist as a religion that you can choose from out of the religions, right? And it's separate to I don't have a religion. It's separate to no religion. So there are 2 options, no religion and atheist in America, which I think is counterintuitive. You know what I mean? Like, atheism is not a belief system. It's a lack of a belief system. That's the point of it. You know what I mean? Like, there are different options in America to break it up between atheist, agnostic, and no religion. And those 3 things are the same thing in the Australian question, So the numbers may look a little bit different as a result of that. And I don't know if that's a deliberate attempt on, like, atheists' part in Australia, or a deliberate attempt from religious peoples in America, or if it's just a quirk of the data, circumstantial statisticians wording things differently. Who knows, right? Who knows? But it is definitely the thing that that grabbed me most out of analysing the data, or the data, is that it is so significant. The difference is stark when it comes to religion and the separation of church and state in Australia. Like, Scott Morrison was trying to put through a religious freedom bill, which he was saying was basically allowed people to practice their religion, but what it did was allowed religious people to discriminate, and, like, you can have your religion, you can't be a cunt. It's as simple as that, you know what I mean? As long as your religion is about you, go ham, bro. When you're preventing other people from doing things based on your religion, you can't do that. That's not how a secular society works, you know what I mean? Which is what spawned all of this. You know, we've come full circle, because it was Roe versus Wade that got me looking into it, because I was like, man, like, I swear to God, most Australians couldn't give a fuck about sky daddies, you know, and about religion in general. Most Australians, and this is me waxing philosophical, I think it's probably because we're a nation of criminals. Like, we came up from criminals. We were a nation that were started as a penal colony, as opposed to a nation that was the aristocracy trying to get away from the not as good aristocracy, you know what I mean? Like, there's a different fundamental starting point for our countries, and so we move philosophically at different paces, if that makes sense. And I was like, man, there's no way that this would be like this overtly religious fucking philosophy, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm not a woman. Doesn't affect me. I have no skin in the game, you know? Like, my wife is sterile. My wife has had her tubes tied since we had the second kid. It's genuinely not a problem I have to worry about. I got no skin in the game whatsoever. And previously, I've spent a significant amount of time actually telling people, oh, you're overreacting. They're not going to overturn Roe versus Wade. You're overreacting. You're being silly. And I feel bad for the amount of people I was condescending to, and who I said, oh, won't be that bad. You'll be fine. Reminds me of the quote of, oh, they came for these people and I didn't say anything. They came for these people, I didn't say anything. They came for these people, I didn't say anything. And then they came for me and there was no one left to say anything. Right? And it's, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but like, it's hit me really hard, the fact that I was, like, subtly, accidentally gaslighting people about their worry when it comes to Roe versus Wade, you know? And I was trying to look for a reason why I didn't think it could happen when it could, because, you know, I usually hang my hat on being able to predict political stuff, you know? Like, I'm on the ball when it comes to Australian shit, you know what I mean? Like, I could rattle off 10 people now that use me as their politics meter, you know what I mean, back home and all that sort of stuff. And I just did not predict the Roe vs. Wade stuff. So I was looking into the census data, and I figured you all might find all of that information as interesting as I did, especially the religion stuff. But yeah, the average income stuff was interesting as well, and the percentage of the country that are immigrants I thought was interesting. But I've been talking for like 20 fucking minutes now, and I am sure I have said the same thing 28,000 times. So if you're still watching at this point, thank you very much, guys. Like, I couldn't do what I do without you, the people that watch my stuff and whatnot. I'm sure you've been hit up by ads already as well, but if you can hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, consider sending me a super thanks. Consider joining my Patreon. I like money. Turning some of yours into mine on a monthly basis would be ideal. Even if it's just a once-off, that would be awesome as well, because, yeah, things are getting a bit tight financially, as they always do around this time of year, and I would love to have some of your money, so it could be mine, right? I'm going to do a dispensary review on Presidential, which is the smoke shop in my building, relatively soon. I'm going to record some more stuff today, but yeah, this has been a fun little chat about numbers. And if you're still here, I don't know, what religion are you? Are you religious? Let me know in the comments. And do you believe in separation of church and state as an American? If you're an American watching this, let me know. Do you believe in church? And I'm not judging you when I say this, because, you know, countries have a right to run themselves how they want. And I have come to this country with a fundamental lack of understanding about how extremely religious the nation is, you know? And if you're offended at me saying that, get bent, because it's a fact, right? I don't care. It is extremely religious in this country, and I wasn't really aware. I thought it was a secular nation like most of the Western world is. You know what I mean? And again, not criticizing. If you take that as a criticism, you've got some internal stuff to unpack. I'll see you when I look at you guys. Stick around, hit one of the suggestions on the end of the video as well. As I said, the more views I get, the more likes I get, the more subs I get, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know what I mean? But thanks so much for watching. I'll see you when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Thanks so much for watching.